What's up, my people? In this video, we're going to be solving systems of equations. We're going to have three variables and three equations. Okay. I will say that these do take a little bit longer than the 2x2s, so we'll get through this though. Okay. All right. So first thing I like to do, I like to label each line. So I'm going to label this top line A, this middle line B, and this last line C. That's first. Okay, now in order to move forward, just like when we were doing the 2x2s where we just had X and Y, we have to cancel out one of the variables, okay? And then we're going to end up canceling out another variable. So let's look here. And for the purposes of this example, I'm going to focus on canceling out the Y's. So I'm going to use equation A. So I'm going to rewrite this down here. Equation A says 3x plus 4y plus 5z equals negative 27. And then I'm going to use equation B, and that's going to be negative 5x plus 2y. And then that's going to be plus 6z equals 5. Okay, so I want to cancel out the y's. So what I'm going to have to do is multiply this bottom row by negative 2. The whole thing. Okay. So since we didn't do anything to the top row, we leave it the same. Equals negative 27. And then we got a positive 10x minus 4y minus 12z. That's going to equal negative 10. Okay? And just like we would do on the 2x2, we're going to add straight down. And I like to label this A, comma, B. A slash B. That tells me that this was a combination of lines A and B. So this is 13x minus 7z equals negative 37. Okay? So we chose A and B. We got rid of Y. Now you have to go back and choose two other lines that you didn't choose before, meaning like I can't do A and B again, but I can do A and C. I can do B and C. And for the purposes of this, I'm just going to do B and C. Again, it's whatever it seems easiest for you. But since we eliminated Y for A and B, we need to eliminate Y again for B and C. Okay, that's first. So again, B says negative 5x plus 2y plus 6z equals 5. And then C is negative 3x plus 6y plus 3z equals 15. Again, we're trying to eliminate y. And just to remember that in order to eliminate a variable, the number in front has to be the same, but they have to be opposite. So they have to pretty much be inverses. And for that reason, I'm going to multiply that top line by negative 3 because I want to cancel out the y's. Okay? This ends up becoming 15x minus 6y minus 18z equals negative 15. And on the bottom row, we still got, nothing changed. Negative 3x plus 6y plus 3z equals 15. And now we're going to add straight down. That becomes 12x, and then that's minus 15z equals 0. Okay, so this is important, and this one is important. And then I'm going to also label this because this was my B. Oops, sorry, not that. This was my BC combination. Okay, so now I've eliminated y's. Cool, y's are gone. But now I can't solve it until I eliminate another variable. So, but instead of going back to the beginning, we're going to write down our combinations. So our first A-B combination was 13x minus 7z equals negative 37. And then our other combination was the BC combination. And we ended up with 12x minus 15z equals 0. Now we have to figure out what variable we want to cancel out. And for this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel out the z's. And to do that, I'm going to multiply the top line. Because remember, one of them has to be negative, one has to be positive. So I'm going to multiply this top line by negative 15. And I'm going to end up multiplying this bottom line by 7. Okay? And so what ends up happening here is this ends up becoming negative 195x plus 105z equals 555. Okay, and now the bottom line is going to end up becoming 84x minus 105z equals 0. Okay, now we're going to add straight down. These are going to cancel. So I'm left with negative 195x plus 84x ends up being negative 111x equals 555. When I divide both of these sides by negative 111, you'll get that x equals 5. Just kidding, negative 5. Okay. Yes, all that work for one question, because that's probably what you just said. All that work for one question, and we're not even done. Remember those two equations that I highlighted earlier? Now that I have an x, I need to plug this x back into one of the two equations. And so the equation I'm going to use is the BC combination. So the BC combination was the 12x minus 15z equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and put this 12, and then this is negative 5 minus 15z equals 0. 12 times negative 5 happens to be negative 60. Oops, not plus. Minus 15z equals 0. I'm going to add 60 to both sides. Negative 15z equals a positive 60. When I divide both sides by negative 15, we're going to get that z is equal to negative 4. Okay, now that we have x and we have z, we got to go back and find y. And I always recommend plug it into one of the original equations to make sure it works. All right. And so for the purposes of this, I'm going to plug it into the B equation. This was just B. B was negative 5x plus 2y plus 6z equals 5. So I'm going to do negative 5 parenthesis. I'm going to put my negative 5 here. My y, I still don't know. I'll leave it like that. Plus the 6z. Oh, I know what my z is. It's negative 4. Equals 5. So this ends up becoming positive 25 plus 2y minus 24 equals 5. And when you combine these two like terms, you're going to get 2y plus 1, because 25 minus 24 is 1, equals 5. Subtract 1 from both sides. 2y equals 4. Divide both sides by 2. You're going to get that y equals a positive 2. Okay, let me go ahead and do some highlighting for you really quick in case you forget. So once I solve for this x, I plug that x in right here. Okay? And the result of that x ends up giving me this z. So that z is this number here. That x is this number here, so I had to plug it back in. And therefore, we end up with the y. Okay? So yes, it took all of that for one question. We're going to do a couple of these. So that's question number 1. We'll do a total of 4. So we got 3 left. Okay, let's move right along. Again, I always start by labeling which line is which. And I'm going to label this A. This line is going to be B. This line is going to be C. And since on that last equation, I went on ahead and I eliminated Y, I think on this one, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate Z. So let's go ahead and pick 2 equations. The 2 I want to use is lines A and line B. Okay? Because, this just seems easier. Now, line A says negative 3x minus 2y plus z equals negative 2. Line B says negative 3x minus 6y minus 2z equals 17. And I told you guys I was going to go ahead and cancel out my cancel out my z's. So what I'm going to do to line A is I'm going to multiply line A by 2, because that's going to end up giving me a positive 2z down there. Okay, so 2 times negative 3 is negative 6x minus 4y plus 2z equals negative 4. And then that bottom line, I didn't touch. Okay. Again, this is a result of A, B. And now, when I add straight down, those z's are going to cancel. It's going to end up giving me negative 9x minus 10y equals 13. Let's go ahead and highlight this one. There's that. All right, so let's go back. I've already used A and B, so I can't use A and B again. But this time, I'll just use A and C. And the reason I'm using A again, because on the letter Z, there's a 1 there that makes my life easier. So A, and we're going to do C this time. So M, write it down again, negative 3x minus 2y plus Z equals negative 2. And then C is 4x minus 3y plus 3z equals 21. Okay? Again, I'm trying to eliminate my z's, which means that for this one, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this top line by negative 3. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with 9x plus 6y minus 3z equals 6. And then on the bottom line, I'm going to end up with 4x minus 3y plus 3z equals 21, because we didn't do anything to the bottom. Okay? Those are going to cancel out. And remember, this is a result of A being mixed with C. 9x plus 4x is 13x. And then I got 6y minus 3y. It's a positive 3y. And when you add 6 and 21, you get 27. There's that. Okay. So now we've got rid of one variable. Now we have to get rid of the other variable. So let's use this. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and write my A and B right here. Negative 9x minus 10y equals 13. Then my AC combination is going to be 13x plus 3y equals 27. And for me, canceling out the y's are going to be the easiest because they're already opposite signs, and I already know that number is going to be 30. So let's go ahead and do this, which means I need to multiply this top line by 3 and this bottom line by 10. 3 times negative 9 is negative 27x. You get minus 30y equals 39. And then you're going to multiply, you're going to get 130x plus 30y equals 270. Those are going to cancel. And then negative 27 plus 130 is 103. X equals, and then 270 plus 39 is 309. Divide both sides by 103. And we'll get that X is equal to 3. Okay? Now that I know that X equals 3, I'm going to plug X back into one of my highlighted equations. And to me, AB seems the easiest because the numbers are smaller, I guess. So let's plug it back into the AB equation. And let me remind you what that was. That was negative 9x minus 10y equals 13. And because we solved for X, I'm going to drop that X right here. Okay, and then negative 9 times 3 is negative 27 minus 10y equals 13. I'm going to add 27 to both sides. Negative 10y is equal to 40. Divide both sides by negative 10. And you'll get that y is equal to negative 4. Okay, I have my X and I have my Y. Now I have to plug these two back into one of the originals. And for the sake of this one, I'm just going to plug it back into A. Let's switch the color. So A says negative 3x minus 2y plus z equals negative 2. And the numbers are smaller. That's another positive. So negative 3 parentheses 3 minus 2 times negative 4 plus z equals negative 2. And again, I'm going to go ahead and highlight so you guys remember. I solved for x. I used that x right here to get my y, which came out down here. I then used this y right here, and I used that x right there. Okay, in case you are having a hard time keeping up, like why did I put what where? Okay, then once I multiply this out, I'll get negative 9 plus 8 plus z equals negative 2. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1 plus z equals negative 2. Add 1, add 1, z equals negative 1. And that is the final answer for this one. Okay, 2 down, 2 to go. Again, if you're having issues, pause the video. I know I'm going kind of fast. If you need to slow down, just do that. All right, let's do next one. All right, so this one uses different variables, but that's okay. I'm gonna first label this A, B, C. You can also do A, B, C on this side too, but because the numbers are there, I just wrote them on the right. And so I need to do some canceling, and I'm going to start with start with lines A and B. And in the first equation, I canceled out the middle one, which was y. The last example, I canceled out the last one, which was z. And if they use the same letters, it will be x this time. But since it's not an x, we're going to cancel out r because that's where the x will be. All right. So I'm going to use lines A and B. And remember, line A is negative r minus s plus 4t equals 15. And then on line B, I got 3r minus 3s minus 2t equals negative 25. And which means I need to multiply. If I'm trying to cancel the r's out, I need to multiply this top line by 3. You end up with negative 3r minus 3s minus 12t equals 45. And then on the bottom, we still got 3r minus 3s minus 2t equals negative 25. Okay, this is a result of A and B. And negative 3s minus 3s is negative 6s. Negative 12t minus 2t is minus 14t. And then 45 minus 25 is 20. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to use lines A and C. Anytime I have a line with the coefficient of 1, remember coefficient is the number in front of the variable, and this r happens to have a coefficient of 1. That makes things so much easier. So I got negative r minus s plus 4t equals 15. Then I have 2r minus s plus t equals 11. Again, I'm trying to cancel out the r, so I'm going to multiply that top line by a 2. That becomes negative 2r minus 2s minus 8t equals 30. Then I'm going to go ahead and write my 2r over here minus s plus t equals 11. And then again, we're canceling out r's, and this is a result of a, c. So I'm going to end up with negative 3s, then negative 8t plus 1 is negative 7t equals, and then 30 plus 11 is 41. Now that I got it down to 2 variables, I now need to go ahead and let's do some combining here. So line AB was negative 6s minus 14t equals 20. And then line AC was negative 3s minus 7t equals 41. And before I move on, I want to go ahead and do my highlighting. This is an important equation, and so is this one. All right, back to this down here. All right, so it doesn't matter what variable I want to cancel. I want to cancel out s's because those look easier, which means I'm going to just simply multiply the bottom line by 2, by negative 2, so I can get the inverse. So I still remember this, the top one didn't change. And then I'm going to end up with positive 6s plus 14t equals negative 81. That cancels. That cancels. When everything cancels, that means that's 0. And then 20 minus 81 is negative 61. When will 0 be 61? This is a no. No solution. That is a no solution. Okay? So yes, you did all the work for it to be a no solution. Okay? And then our final question. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label this A, B, and C. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to start with lines B and C. I don't think I started with B and C yet. B and C. Line B says negative 3x minus 2y plus 2z equals 8. And then you'll get 2x for line C minus 4y plus 6z equals negative 20. Okay? So now I have to cancel out one of the variables, and y's look good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out my y's first, which means I'm going to have to multiply that top line by negative 2. That's going to become a positive 6x plus 4y minus 4z equals negative 16. And then you would end up with, the bottom line didn't change. 2x minus 4y plus 6z equals negative 20. So this is a combination of A. Oh, not a combination of A. This is a combination of B and C. So that goes away. So I'm left with 8x plus 2z equals negative 36. Okay, and this is our first. Let's do yellow. This is our first two equation one that we've broken down. And then let's go back and choose two other ones. Let's try A and C. Not a highlighter. Let's try A and C. A is negative 6x minus 4y plus 4z equals 16. And C is 2x minus 4y plus 6z equals negative 20. Okay, now for this one, again, I still need to cancel out the y's. So I'm going to multiply my top line by negative 1. Let's multiply that top one by negative 1. And when I do that, I end up with a positive 6x, positive 4y, a minus 4z, and a negative 16. And on the bottom, I still have 2x minus 4y plus 6z equals negative 20. When you cancel that, you end up with, and this is a combination of A, C, A/C. You end up with 8x plus 2z equals negative 36. What do you notice about, not that color. What do you notice about the two highlighted equations? If you said they are exactly the same, you are correct. And that means that this is infinite many solutions. You can also put all real numbers, or you can use a symbol like that. Okay. Now, there is a way that I could have shown you this is all real numbers. That's a little bit faster. And I guess I'll show you that now. And I specifically and intentionally didn't show you this way first. Because when I did the work, I was like, oh, this is the easier way. But all right. So if I would have used A and B first, if I would use A and B, A would have been negative 6x minus 4y plus 4z equals 16. And then you got negative 3x minus 2y plus 2z equals 8. When I multiply the bottom line by negative 2 to cancel out, let's say, x's, the top line doesn't change. And then this becomes positive 6x plus 4y minus 4z equals negative 16. Every single thing cancels out, which means 0 equals 0, and that just means infinite many solutions. Or, in other words, all real numbers. All right. So if you end up running into that, the chances are that your answer is all real numbers. Okay. Hopefully this video helps out. If you have any further questions, just come and see me, and I will talk to you soon.